Welcome back to another Explainer, brought to you by Forge College. So if you were hanging out with us for our previous lesson, Early Challenges and Hurdles, you'll remember we wrestled with some pretty massive abstract problems. Like the sheer difficulty of trusting strangers on the internet without relying on some centralized middleman. Well, today, we're taking the next step. We're going to pop the hood and unpack the actual technical mechanisms the Bitcoin whitepaper uses to solve those exact problems. It's kind of like a giant puzzle, and we're going to see how the pieces fit together. Let's dive in.
Here's our roadmap, so you know exactly where we're heading today. We'll start with challenges to solutions, move into the 3 core mechanisms, explore what I like to call the sealed box analogy, tackle defeating double spends, look at lightweight wallets, and finally, wrap up with takeaways and next steps.
All right, part 1, challenges to solutions, connecting the dots. We're moving straight from those abstract problems we talked about last time into the real, concrete, cryptographic solutions that Satoshi proposed. The big idea here is creating a shared ledger without needing a central boss, simply by mathematically ordering transactions. Because think about it, how do you get a globally decentralized network of computers to agree on who sent what to whom and exactly when? Well, you order the transactions with timestamps, and then you make that history incredibly, ridiculously costly to rewrite. If an attacker literally can't fake the order of events, they simply can't cheat the system.
Moving right along to Section 2, 3 core mechanisms, the cryptographic engine. Now, what's genuinely fascinating about this is how perfectly each technical mechanism maps to stopping a specific threat. It's like a perfectly engineered machine. First up, we've got hash-linked blocks. By including the previous block's hash, it creates a tamper-evident chain. Basically, if you try to change a record in the past, it instantly breaks all the links moving forward. Second is proof of work, or POW. This creates the massive economic cost that stops people from rewriting history. And third, we have Merkle trees. This is an organizational trick that lets everyday people verify information easily without needing to own a literal supercomputer.
Let's zoom in on the real heavy lifter here, proof of work. Think of this as a computational toll booth. It forces computers to do exhausting, tedious math just to prove they've put in the effort. By demanding this demonstrable expenditure of computing power, the network effectively slaps a massive, extremely expensive price tag on rewriting history. You want to alter the ledger? Well, you're going to have to burn a ton of electricity to do it.
Then we have the Merkle tree, which solves a completely different kind of mechanical problem. This is a brilliant way to let participants verify that a single transaction belongs in a block without having to download every single piece of data on the network. Imagine hundreds of transactions acting as the leaves of a tree, mathematically summarizing all their data upward into one single root at the top. It gives you a tiny, compact proof that your specific transaction happened, which is absolutely crucial for keeping the whole system scalable.
Okay, Section 3, the sealed box analogy, making cryptography tangible.
To really make these concepts stick, picture a massive stack of cardboard boxes, with each box containing a day's worth of receipts. Now, every time you add a new box to the stack, it has the previous box's unique fingerprint sharpied right on the outside. That's our hash link. Then, you lock that box with a really expensive, time-consuming stamp. That's our proof of work. And finally, tucked neatly inside that box is a tiny, super compact receipt list, and that is our Merkle tree. It brings all 3 mechanisms together perfectly.
So following our box analogy, let's look at the exact step-by-step workflow of how a simple transaction gets boxed up and cemented into permanent history. First, a transaction is shouted out to the network. Second, the miners gather those receipts into a candidate box and compute that tiny compact list, the Merkle root. Third, miners sweat it out, iterating nonsense to find that expensive proof of work stamp. Fourth, the rest of the network looks at the box to validate that the stamp is real and all the math checks out. And finally, everyone updates their local stack of boxes and rebroadcasts the good news. On to Section 4, defeating double spends. Scenario A, the attacker. Let's put our sealed box model to the test against a real-world threat. Imagine a malicious sender who buys something but then tries to quickly reverse their payment to steal the money back. This is where the sheer absurdity of the system makes it secure. Say our villain's transaction is in a box buried 5 layers deep. The honest network is steadily building the longest chain, just stacking new boxes with fresh stamps on top. For the attacker to alter their receipt, they literally have to unbox that buried box, change the receipt, and then reproduce those incredibly expensive stamps for every single buried box stacked on top of it just to catch up. Imagine trying to frantically unbox and restamp a mountain of sealed boxes faster than the entire rest of the world can stack new ones. It's crazy.
The reality boils down to this. Replacing history requires repeating that costly work for every single block replaced. This creates a snowballing security effect. The deeper the box is buried in the stack, the more impossibly annoying and mathematically expensive it becomes for an attacker to alter it. The network simply defaults to the chain with the most accumulated work.
Section 5. Lightweight wallets. Scenario B. The everyday user.
Now, let's shift gears from heavy network defense to you, the everyday user, just trying to verify a payment on your phone. Because, let's be real, your smartphone definitely doesn't have the memory or the battery to store an entire warehouse full of sealed cardboard boxes. Think of a full node like the Warehouse Manager. It downloads, stores, and strictly verifies every single receipt inside every single box. But simplified payment verification, or an SPV wallet, shows how those compact receipt lists, the Merkle trees we talked about, let mobile users operate safely without downloading the whole heavy blockchain. They only need the blocked headers. It's essentially just checking the labels on the outside of the boxes.
The math here is just beautiful. By checking that compact receipt against a chain of headers with enough of those expensive stamps, your phone can confidently trust that the transaction is real and secure. It's a simple formula. Compact inclusion proofs plus accumulated proof of work equals lightweight security. You get all the peace of mind without doing any of the heavy lifting.
And finally, Section 6. Takeaways and next steps. Wrapping up. We've covered a ton of ground today, pulling all these concepts together to see how these core mechanisms ultimately solve the white paper's original challenges. Because consensus in this system is emergent, meaning no single boss node makes the decisions, and finality is probabilistic, meaning security just grows stronger as more blocks are added, you can actually use these 3 concrete mental checks to evaluate transaction security yourself. If you can verify the transaction's Merkle inclusion, confirm the header links to a trusted tip, and assess that there's enough accumulated proof of work, well, you've essentially just applied the sealed boxes and stamps model in your own mind. So I want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. Do the white paper's exact phrasing and security claims fully support the guarantees of these mechanisms? Keep that in mind for our next lesson, Critical Reading Strategies and Next Steps, where we're going to apply this mechanism-level understanding to evaluate specific passages in the white paper itself. And hey, to continue exploring these Web3 concepts with us, make sure you head over to forge.college. That is forge.college for tons more incredible learning resources. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. You've been an absolutely fantastic audience, and I will catch you in the next one.